North Central fired on all cylinders Saturday as the team zoomed past Millikin University 55-7. Most of the damage taking place in the first half. The Cardinals outgained the Big Blue 550-212. We'll tell you how and what to expect from NCC on the road this upcoming Saturday at North Park. Next on the Red Zone. Welcome inside the Red Zone. I'm Justin ZIPSER. We begin the show with North Central football head coach John Thorne. John, thanks for joining us.
All right, good to be here.
A big win against Millikin, 55-7. Really, the team rolling on all cylinders. We can start talking about the offense a little bit, and as usual, Spencer Stanek had a heck of a game. First quarter, really put up 3 touchdowns and really got the ball rolling for you guys offensively.
He did have another really great game, but of course, unless your offensive line is keeping it kind of clean for him and your receivers are doing all their kind of stuff, and catching the ball and getting open and all those things, it all has to go together. But Spencer has made immense progress in getting the ball out of his hands quicker, in trusting that the receiver is going to finish the route where he's supposed to, and he's throwing it before they even get open, so the ball gets there as they're getting open, which that's like graduate school stuff for a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And he's got that, and that's really been a big help for us.
How much of that do you think is coaching with you and your son Jeff and the rest of the coaches working on him throughout his career, or is it just kind of a natural progression where quarterbacks simply learn how to do things better as they get older in their careers?
Some of all of that, not very much from me. Coach Jeff has been magical with quarterbacks for all the years we've been here and for many years before that when I was coaching at the high school. And he was a great quarterback himself. So he has really had an amazing connection with all of our quarterbacks, but with Spencer, this year it has developed something that's far beyond where it was just last year. So coming back for that 5th year has really been huge for Spencer, and all of a sudden his vision has completely changed. The best quarterbacks and the best coaches are guys who see things that the normal person sitting there looking at the exact same situation would have to run the film back and forth before they ever saw the whole picture. Mm-hmm. They see it with their first look. So you're always looking for those guys that can develop that certain special type of vision. And right now, Spencer has it on offense, and Shane and Nick Slezak are both starting to really show that exact kind of thing on the defensive side, which gives us a chance to be very good.
And we'll talk about Nick and Shane and the rest of the defense a little bit. But before, let's check into the highlights, see exactly how North Central cruised to this big victory.
The D3Football.com 4th-ranked Cardinals at 4-0 with another home tilt at Benedetti Worley Stadium. This one against the 1-3 Millikin University Big Blue. Sean Dunning leads CCIW running backs with 11 touchdowns through 4 games. North Central's offense does well to keep them off the field in the first half. First possession of the game, O'Shane Brown gets things started by moving the ball into Big Blue territory. A few snaps later, Spencer Stanek finds A.J. Thomas wide open between the hash marks. A growing trend this season. Thomas does the rest and rumbles in for a 40-yard touchdown. After a few fumbles, both recovered by North Central, Stanek makes up for lost yardage. Handles the shotgun snap and lets it fly for Chad O'Kane. And O'Kane is okay for the touchdown. 36 yards out, 14-0 North Central. The Millikin offense had trouble getting anything working in the first half. Sophomore Nick Pippin a bit too high for Mike Blakely, and safety Shane Durking is there for his 5th interception of the year. It takes the offense 4 plays, but they put it into the end zone. Stanek to Thomas again, 20-zip Cardinals. It's the tight end's 5th of the year, Stanek's 15th touchdown pass of the year, and that leads the conference. North Central takes a 41-0 lead into halftime. Some of the younger players get good experience in the second half, including ZACK PATTAT. He only had 12 carries in the second half, but made the most of them. 149 yards on the ground, including these 32 and 21-yarders. The freshman now leads the team in rushing. Cardinals cruise and get set for North Park.
So we talked just a moment ago about Shane Durkin and Nick Slezak, two of the defensive leaders, along with some other players as well. Really, the defense, there's not one player that truly dominates really how calls are played, or plays are called exactly. But it's really a team effort. But what are some of the players that we haven't really heard about that are kind of making some noise on this defensive unit?
Well, Alex Tripp had an amazing stretch of like 7 straight plays where he did the exact perfect reaction every single play, and he ended up making almost every one of those tackles right in a row too, which you always love to see that light bulb completely go on and then have it turn into consistency, you know. So lots of the guys are getting there. I think Shane in the secondary, of course, is the one that has all the interceptions and so forth, but every other player, Connor, Trey Hardema, Jordan Dean got one of the picks, but all of them are just like one step away from the same thing happening to them. So that those light bulbs are going to just start, being turned on, bam, 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 all the way through the whole defensive team. Every single week, it's been so exciting to see. Here's another guy that really understands. And here's another guy, Brian Wilson moving from offense to defense. He's really starting to pick things up, And of course, Josh Fick in Elmer's game, when he went flying through and tackled both the running back and the quarterback, those are kind of big plays, You like to see those happen. So we're happy with a lot of them.
And on offense, back to offense, we saw a big advantage once again in the first down department compared to what you did with the opponent. 29-9 was the advantage in first downs. Obviously, when you keep the ball that long, it really makes possessions a little bit easier, a little bit more sustained. And obviously, I want to talk a little bit about A.J. Thomas as well. He's really becoming a red zone threat for you guys. He has 5 touchdowns to lead the team receiving. Talk a little bit about A.J., what he brings to the table, and not only passing the ball, but blocking as well, because we always hear his name brought up blocking the ball during practice.
Learning how to block as a tight end and still being able to be a receiver, those are kind of opposites, and they're very hard. And AJ and Ryan Zadarsky have both really blossomed in both areas this year, and they're much more physical. They have much better balance once they engage the guy they're blocking. But these catches that they're getting and the speed that AJ showed after he caught this one, it turned into like a 40-yard touchdown pass. Those are really huge breakthroughs, and we're excited about that happening, And the third down situation that you mentioned before, I think it was 2 third down. Millikin only converted on 2 out of 13. Third downs are so important in football, so we stress it with the defense, we stress it with the offense, and right now I think the defense in conference is holding people down to 15% conversion, and the offense is over 60%. If that keeps happening, you got a pretty good chance to keep winning.
And we'll talk about winning and hopefully winning next week when we keep it locked right here on Channel 17. We'll have more with Coach Thorne after the break.
Yes, ready. Let's go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
We're back inside the red zone and with Coach Thorne for a few more minutes. Coach, we want to talk a little bit about your upcoming opponent this Saturday in North Park University. And obviously, this is a team that over the last, couple decades really has struggled, especially in the conference. But a couple weeks ago, they did nab their first conference win in about 13 seasons, 89 games against Carthage. So it's a team with a little bit of momentum, not usually what you're seeing out of North Park.
Well, we were so happy for him. I think everybody in the whole conference was happy for him, but nobody was any happier than their own coaches and players. I mean, it was like Christmas morning, and you got the exact present you wanted from, your mom and dad or from Santa Claus. But they are a little bit different team this year because they're playing many more seniors. Every year, it seems like they're playing a bunch of young guys. And then the next year, they're still playing young guys. And the next year, they're still playing. It's like those young guys never become seniors. Well, they've got more seniors than they've ever had. And they've also got some great transfers that came in with the coach and so forth that they're going to, I think, keep getting better throughout this season and in the future. But they still only have like 80 players. It's very, very hard to run a college program with only 80 football players. So there's still some problems that they're dealing with, but we expect them to play better than what they have in the last several years.
And they also have a new head coach in Mike Conway, who's taking obviously over a program that has struggled in the past. I want to ask you as a coach, and what's it like as a new coach, bringing that new enthusiasm to a team like Mr. Conway at North Park?
Oh, it's a great challenge. It takes a little time, and the recruiting, of course, is a huge part of it. But I think having a philosophy where you're trying to make football a tool to help them grow into real men is very important. And if that happens, you've got a far greater chance of winning to take place, but also you have a chance to impact the lives of the guys that you're working with. And I know that's what Coach Conway is doing at North Park. And so I think some really good things are going to continue to happen there.
And we heard a little bit about the younger players stepping up in the segment prior to this. And we talked to a couple of the other ones after the game last week. And let's hear from them in this week's What's the Word?
As a team, we all try to prepare as starters. So, everybody works hard, everybody gets reps, and if they're not getting reps on the field during practice, then they'll get mental reps on the sideline.
One of the main reasons I came here is because of how great the coaches are. So the coaches really make it easy, helping you learn everything. They're really helpful, so got to give a lot of credit to them. And then a lot of the captains, the older guys, the older running backs, there's a lot of them there, and they're really helping me through it and helping me grow and learn as a player in this new system.
As far as I go, when I first came here, I wasn't really sure how it was going to work out. I knew that I wanted to play linebacker, and they said that there was a little bit of a need for some linebacker. So obviously I was looking to get some playing time, and they told me it was possible, but I knew I'd have to work hard in camp because everybody, as you can see, everybody works hard. So it was pretty tough. But I've been lucky enough to get in on a couple plays, made some plays. I started last week, started again this week, so it's been working out real good.
So, Coach, quickly, game plan against North Park. We talked about what it's like to be a coach and just game plan X's and O's for this upcoming Saturday. What's the general feel for the team?
Well, they're going to throw the ball a lot, so that's really good because we haven't faced a lot of passing yet. So I'm really excited about seeing how we react to those throws. We should be able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but if we can't, then it's going to come down to our, secondary breaking on the ball extremely well. Special teams, North Park's had a little bit of trouble with that, although they've got a decent returner, so we have to be very careful with him. And then on the offensive side for us, their defense is going to do a lot of movement things that the guys are starting to figure out. So I think we're going to have a chance to do very well against them. But I also am looking forward to that challenge of seeing how our guys are really going to react and how North Park is going to be able to play compared to how they played in the past. It's kind of a new toy.
Right.
I hope it works well for them, but of course we hope it works better for us.
Well, 58-17 was the result last year, and we wish you the best of luck this upcoming Saturday.
All right, thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We're joined by a few North Central captains that helped lead North Central in its win versus Millikin. Next on the Red Zone.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Welcome back inside the Red Zone. Joining us now on the set, senior defensive lineman Alex Tripp and senior wide receiver Ryne Rezac. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, guys, we talked a little bit about with Coach Thorne about the big victory against Millikin, 55-7. I mean, 55 points is a lot to put up. 7 points is not a lot to give up. So, both of you guys in your respective units did your job basically. Ryne, we'll start with you. You had a couple catches for 40 yards, and really the offense was clicking. From your perspective as a slot receiver, what worked in the offense this week and what didn't work?
I think it was kind of what Coach said. It's just a group effort. I think a little bit of everything worked. Obviously, we have some things to work on in our run game. But I think overall, I think we did a great job here and there with a little bit of everything.
And we talked with Coach about A.J. Thomas and how much easier does a wide receiver or a tight end, and also with Cesarski as well, tight ends that can really open up the field for you in the middle, and also obviously the wide receivers on the outside as well.
Definitely helps us out a lot when they can go through the middle of the field, pull the safeties and linebackers off of me, particularly since I'm in the slot. It just opens up a whole new passing game for Spencer. So I think it's a great thing that we have. Cesarski and AJ are doing an awesome job.
Alex, and you had a great game as well. 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, and the sack as well. Really, as a defensive lineman, when you're having a good game and maybe you're facing a double team, what do you do to get past a double team? And if you can't, how much does that open up things for the rest of your defensive lineman teammates?
It's just all about technique. I mean, we practice, specific techniques for just getting double teams and things like that as well. You got to fight through it, and especially being double teamed, it's 2-on-1. So, there's always going to be someone else opened up in the defense. So, if you can force someone into that and make them, have to focus that much on one person, then, it opens it up for everyone. And the real goal is to have the team be successful with it. So it works out pretty well.
And first half in particular against Millikin, you guys were just lights out. Really only gave up a handful of yards in the first half. Really bottled up Sean Dunning, who coming into the game we thought may have been someone to watch out for. But really, you guys negated that effort. You really made it look very good and very easy on the defensive end. How'd you do that?
We kind of focused on, him all week. And, we had heard about, how well he was doing this season, how many touchdowns he had, how many yards he had rushed for. And last year especially, he kind of hurt us too, going over 100 yards, I think, in our game too. So, just practicing our jobs and, getting to our keys and, playing with that really made us successful by just getting the whole defense collaborated together to make that effort to stop him and to stop their whole offense in general.
And what do you see specifically out of their defense, Ryne, that really opened up the field in that first half especially? You put up 41 points in the first half. What was it about that defense that you were able to carve out a little bit?
I think they just played really off on our receivers, which helped open up the passing game a lot. And then during the second half, our running backs were able to, ZACK PATTAT, for instance, he was able to get through some holes and make some really nice runs. Speaking of ZACK PATTAT and the rest of the running backs, 5-headed scheme this year. It looks really good so far. We talked to some of the players and a couple new coaches as well, leading the new 5-headed rushing attack. Let's check in on the group's progress and the new coach that's running the show in this week's Cardinal Corner.
On this season of the Red Zone, we've talked a bit about the new running backs starting in place of graduates Jordan Tassio and Nick Kukoc. Who we haven't talked about is a new coach in charge of the running backs. His name is Turner Pugh. The Elgin native is a 3-year letter winner at Northern Illinois as a wide receiver, graduating in 2004. His coaching career began with Indiana State University in 2007 as a recruiting assistant.
Hit up. Stay. There, go again.
After stops at Ohio D3 school Marietta College and Georgia State, Pugh moved up.
I coached running backs at Fordham for a year, which is out in New York, and I coached wide receivers at Indiana State for a year under Trent Miles. So I've had a pretty nice background, some different experiences, and some different philosophies I've been under. But it's been a good ride, and I just see where it takes me.
Pugh credits the rest of the coaching staff at North Central for his move to Naperville.
When you work for somebody that actually believes the same thing that you believe in, but also coaching kids hard and also coaching to win, it makes things easier.
Also making things easier and at the same time more difficult is his new stable of running backs that goes 5 deep. Ryan Kent, O'Shane Brown, Matt Randolph, ZACK PATTAT, and Denzel Thompson.
Everybody wants to be out there every snap, but we knew that was going to be the case coming into the season, so we actually sat down and talked with them. They are all on board, and they understand that they are all one unit, and that's great to have because they all have different skills and different talents that we bring to the table. Perfect. When defenses are sitting there looking at film, they're not scheming to stop one running back. They have to scheme to stop multiple running backs, and that just gives us more versatility.
Through the first 2 CCIW games of the season, that flexibility is paying off. The Cardinals have a conference-best 36 first downs on the ground and are averaging 265 rushing yards per game, good for second in the conference behind Illinois Wesleyan.
All right, so Ryan, we're moving on to North Park here. One of the big challenges for the defense will be Bennett Denninger, who's one of the best defensive players on that North Park defense as a linebacker. As a slot receiver, how mindful are you to a linebacker knowing that it's very possible that on any particular play, it could be a linebacker that's covering you in the slot?
We have to definitely key on him. Our scheme this week, he's going to be the guy that we make sure he's accounted for on each and every play, just to open up holes for the running backs and the receivers in the passing game.
And Alex, TD Conway is a new quarterback in the North Park system. By way of film, word of mouth, what have you heard about this freshman quarterback?
Just seeing the film and stuff, he's got a lot of skills. We've seen him run the ball a little bit. We've seen him throw really well as well. Just being in that new offense, too, it kind of works for him, too. He's a tall quarterback. He's, I think, 6'4", 6'5", too. So, just kind of seeing the film and seeing him carry himself with, being a freshman with that team, he's been doing really well.
And through the first couple of games of the season, we saw, multiple games in which Shane Durkin were kind of carrying the offense in terms of takeaways. And we've seen that kind of open up throughout the last couple of games. Jordan Dean had an interception. Michael Monterrubio had a couple interceptions a couple weeks ago. Fumbles are starting to be forced. Is this you guys just being more comfortable, working into shape, working into game shape? Or is it maybe a byproduct of just being more comfortable with the defensive system as the year's gone on?
I think it's definitely got to do with us being more comfortable with our system.
Mm-hmm.
We've, started getting to our keys and getting to our correct places every single time instead of, seeing those little shines of, greatness with our defense and stuff like that. We're actually starting to make it more consistent and work as a group together and, really get the feel for your job on the field compared to everyone else's on the field. So it's worked out really well.
And throughout the season, North Park has had a little bit of trouble tackling, essentially. So as a wide receiver, is there anything that you do going into the week to maybe try to enhance that lack of tackling ability on the other team, or do you just kind of play your game and let the chips fall where they may?
Coach Spence has really been emphasizing on getting the knees up after the catch and tight turns, for instance. So this whole week of practice, where we're just working on tight turns, catching, tucking, and getting our knees up, and hopefully getting some yards after catch. Well,
guys, we wish you the best of luck come Saturday. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stick with us. We have North Central Sports Information Director Clark TEUSCHER next to update us on a few other fall NCC sports. Next on the Red Zone.
Today is Saturday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Thanks for sticking with us on the Red Zone, as he does each and every week. North Central SID Clark TEUSCHER joins us to wrap up the show. Clark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll start with women's cross country. We haven't talked about them much on the show this year, but we should have, because they're 9th in the region, ranking from the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. They had a nice meet win on the 11th against at the Benedictine University Eagle Invitational. First meet win of the season, and they had a couple of runners that looked very impressive in this meet.
Nora Ferguson and Jackie McCown up front, and really kind of pushing the pace, past what they had done, far beyond what they had done so far early in the season. For Jackie in particular, that was a pretty big step up for her. Nora's kind of been the front runner all season long. Now she's got some company up there. They hadn't raced in a couple of weeks, really, dove into their training and got to work. And, early in the season, they pointed to, the month of October as the time where they were really going to find out what kind of team they had. And I think they're pretty happy with what they've got so far.
I think the cool thing for head coach Hesh-Narayanan is that he has a lot of depth. I mean, top 7 is very good, and then he has a top 10. Really, the girls behind those top 7 players are really talented, and it's a lot of new players and some senior leadership on the squad as well. Mahesh really has a lot of different choices to pick from throughout the season.
It's something that's shuffled, from time to time. Some people, you have injuries and things like that, and people have a chance to step up and be a part of that top group. And, that's really going to become, here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, a really difficult time in terms of decision making as far as who's going to be on the starting line for the conference and the regional meets coming up in November. So, they've got one more meet to kind of evaluate everybody, and then they'll have to sit down and figure out which group gives them the best chance to win.
And let's move on to soccer. We'll start with men's soccer. And this is a squad that really started the year on a hot streak. But once conference play has started, they've gone 0-3. They lost Jake Johnson. They got another Jake back, Mashinsky. Really, they have to finish strong if they want to even sniff that postseason tournament.
They've just run into a really difficult scoring drought. They haven't scored a goal in conference play yet. 2 of those losses were 1-0 losses. So if you can't put one in the net, you really don't give yourself much of a chance. And they've tried working on some different things, some different ways to get the ball into advantageous situations where they've got people who can put it away. And having Jake Mashinsky back is a good step in the right direction there. He's been a pretty reliable goal scorer the last couple of seasons. They're in a situation now where they kind of have to win out if they want to get where they want to go this year, and they've got a week to prepare for their next game, and it's an opponent that's also looking for their first win in Augustana. So if you're going to get healthy, this would be the time to do it.
And then they also have 19th ranked North Park on the slate as well, so it's going to be a tough schedule. Also with the ranked opponent left on its schedule is the women's squad, and they've kind of had their conference schedules as well, 1-3 on the season. They have 19th ranked Augie coming up, and a similar situation in which they've had a little bit of trouble scoring the ball as well.
They've gotten some people back from some injuries, which has helped. They've been able to get on the scoreboard, a little more often recently. They're just in terms of depth on the defensive end, they're still struggling a little bit, and it's led to some late scoring opportunities for opposing teams, particularly up at the Carthage game. They gave up a goal late to lose that one, and so being able to extend an effort over the full 90 minutes, this is the time of year when you should be getting in good enough shape to be able to do that, and I think that's going to be the expectation going forward.
So hopefully both these teams win out, and we can talk about possible postseason berths in a couple weeks. Clark, thanks for joining us, as you do every week. Thank you.
You got it.
That's it for this week. One last reminder, the Cardinals are on the road this Saturday in Chicago against North Park University. Kickoff is slated for 1 p.m. I'm Justin ZIPSER. We'll see you next week on The Red Zone.